So Oda just ruined Zoro's best moment in One Piece. Let's talk about it. So if you didn't know, my favorite scene in One Piece and my favorite scene in all of anime is Zoro's Nothing Happened on Thriller Bark. When I saw this as a prepubescent teen, I lost all control. All bodily functions were leaving me and I was in a puddle of my own emotions and tears. This moment cemented Zoro as my favorite fictional character of all time and also my favorite anime moment / manga moment of all time. What this moment represented to me was the epitome of badassery in terms of any character I've ever seen, with Zoro making a stand for his captain. And this moment had so many different meanings. It stood for him protecting Luffy, but also protecting the people that he cared about, and as well as giving up his own dream for the sake of Luffy's. And then for him to take on all of Luffy's own pain and suffering and just stand there like nothing happened was incredible. And then Oda had to come almost 20 years later and ruin my favorite moment from One Piece. So in chapter 1097, we see Kuma after he got out of God Valley and how he is using his new devil fruit. He is the town healer and he is healing everybody and expelling their pain into those pain bubbles we saw in Thriller Bark. But it turns out that the pain doesn't dissipate and someone has to take the pain, or it goes back to the original owner of that pain. And why this is a big deal is it takes away from Zoro's moment. Kuma gave Zoro a choice at Thriller Bark to either take Luffy's pain or he would take Luffy to the government. But now we know his backstory and that he's actually just a gentle giant. He doesn't want to hurt anyone, he doesn't want to cause anyone pain, and he's been taking these pain bubbles his whole life. So now that adds some context to Thriller Bark. Was Kuma ever going to even take Luffy to the government? And even if Zoro couldn't take that pain bubble, there's no way that I believe Kuma would have let the pain go back to Luffy. I feel he would have stepped in and took that pain for Luffy, thus undermining the whole situation of Zoro's moment. And to be fair, we don't know what Kuma would have done in that moment. He might have taken Luffy to the government and he might have taken the pain bubble. But if anything else had happened, if Zoro couldn't take the pain, or if no Straw Hat was up to fight Kuma after he knocked everyone out, we don't know the results of this incident. But one thing is certain, at that moment we thought that Kuma was a heartless cyborg, but it turns out that he's always had some kind of overarching plan for the Straw Hats. And I'm not even sure if this was even a real test for Zoro, just because we don't know what would have happened if Zoro said no. And what makes this moment amazing, especially when I read it back in 2010, 2008 when it came out, is that it was a choice. Zoro made this choice of his own free will to take on Luffy's pain and suffering, but now it just seems like it's kind of contrived and maybe Kuma never intended Zoro to even take this pain or to even give up his own life. And I want some answers, Oda. I want you to clearly explain what happened on Thriller Bark with Kuma, and I want to get more context for this situation because this was arguably one of the coolest moments in all of anime. If you look up this moment and when you talk to fans, it has a ton of resonance with the fan base, and a lot of people, and myself included, made Zoro our favorite character after we saw this, because when I was reading this and watching this, I've never seen a character do something quite like this, where you actually take on the physical burden and pain of one of your best friends so that they can survive. I've never seen anything like this, and it was super revolutionary and genuine to see in a manga. So whenever I saw this, I just attached so much weight to this moment. But I feel like when we see Kuma's backstory and we see that Kuma's always been taking these pain bubbles, it takes away from Zoro's moment, because I have no idea what would have happened if Zoro never even took the pain, or if he couldn't take the pain, or if none of the Straw Hats were even awake to fight back against Kuma. And now I just feel like it takes away from such a badass moment, just because this was Zoro's moment to prove himself to the captain and to his friends. But now if Kuma was never going to even intentionally hurt Luffy or the crew, it kind of takes away from this grand moment that Zoro displayed. It is my favorite moment of Zoro. And I need some answers, Oda. Why after 20 years do you have to take away from my boy Zoro? Like, what did we do? You could have left it alone. You didn't have to go into the pain bubble. You didn't have to go into Kuma's backstory, but now you got me questioning all these things about my favorite boy Zoro. So I'm a little pissed off. So explain it in another backstory. Let's talk about it. Let's go back to Thriller Bark and have Kuma talk about what he was going to do with Luffy and Zoro, so that there's no questions and that Zoro's moment still mattered and that nothing's taken away from it, okay? But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that this chapter has taken away from Zoro's moment? Or do you think that the nothing happened still holds the same weight it did as when we first saw it? But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and thank you guys so much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. It actually really helps out a lot, and I will see you guys later. Peace.